I will call to order the Monday, October 26th meeting of the Verona Common Council, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have the roll call. Ms. Schofield, if you would, please.
Alderperson Diaz.
Here.
Alderperson Doyle. Alderperson Linder.
Here.
Alderperson McGilvery.
Here.
Alderperson Reekie. Here. Alderperson Steiner.
Here.
Alderperson Touche.
Present.
And Alderperson Yurs.
Here.
We have everyone here, so we have a quorum, and thank you for everyone for being in attendance this evening. With that, we will open it for public comment. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak this evening, there should be a sign-up sheet at the podium. We would ask that you would sign that sheet, and for the benefit of us and those watching at home, if you would please introduce yourself. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak this evening?
Good evening. I'm Bob Caschetta with the Badger Prairie Needs Network. I live on Linden Street. Let me start by thanking you for your service and thanking you for your past support of the Badger Prairie Needs Network. I'm here this evening to ask you to do as much as you can because we're doing as much as we can with the service we're trying to provide to the people we're serving. Already this month, in October, we have served 1,009 individuals. Our prior busiest month was 720 individuals. And everybody on this council knows, but for those people who might be watching at home who aren't familiar with us, we now have 7,000 square feet at 1200 East Verona Avenue. It is used not only to provide food pantry services, but also to provide health care, to provide job services, computer training, language skills, nutrition programs out of that facility. We have approximately $154,000 budget this year, and we are doing everything we can with what we have. We are 100% volunteer, and we have requested of the city $30,000, which is largely to go to operating expenses. It is not going to go for food procurement. So if you do everything you can, that would be most appreciated. We just received a utility bill of $2,200 last month. We've got insurance expenses. We've got a lot of overhead, even though we don't pay anybody. And we want to throw just as much as we possibly can by way of resources at the programs. So anything you do to assist us would be greatly appreciated. I can also tell you I'll be speaking with the Fitchburg City Council tomorrow evening, and they've indicated some resolve to put some resources toward our efforts as well. And I thank those of you who were involved in contacting the city of Fitchburg and trying to encourage them to do so. They have never previously provided financial support to our efforts. So I gladly take any questions if that was appropriate. Otherwise, I just thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Mr. Caschetta? Questions or comments? I'm not seeing any, but Bob, you mentioned one of the things that I wanted to make sure that you did, and that everything that's being done out there is being doing 100% volunteer.
It is.
That's fantastic. So the work that you and Marcia and Doug and everyone else out there is doing, it's great, and we applaud you for that.
Well, it's a real community effort. Thank you. Lots of people involved.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Any questions or comments for Bob? Okay, keep up the good work. We'll be in contact. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak this evening? Anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Going to third and final time. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion then of the meeting. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes from the October 12th meeting of the Common Council. What is your pleasure? We have a motion by Mr. McGilvery. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Reekie. Were there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carries and the minutes are approved. Next on the agenda, we have a proclamation. This is one of the very important things that happens in Verona now on an annual basis for the last 4 years. This is a proclamation regarding the City of Verona Rock, Paper, Scissors Tournament. Whereas the Verona Public Library strives to make the community a better place to live through active use of its mission statement, which is to build community by bringing a world of knowledge together, and whereas rock, paper, scissors is a game that can be skillfully played and enjoyed by all people old enough to understand its rules and nuances. And whereas on October 10th, 2015, the Verona Public Library and the Verona Area Chamber of Commerce, with the generous support of the Verona Vision Care and Park Printing, did host the official City of Verona Rock, Paper, Scissors Championship, open to all comers as part of the Friends of Verona Public Library library fundraising programs. Whereas this is the 4th annual Rock, Paper, Scissors tournament event, and whereas after a tense, spirited, and fun competition among 22 total competitors, one person did emerge as the undisputed winner of the Rock, Paper, Scissors tournament. Now, therefore, I, John Holcomer, the mayor of the City of Verona, do hereby proclaim Eva Bogan the winner of the 4th annual Rock, Paper, and Scissors tournament, signed on this day by me as the mayor of Verona. I believe that we do have Ava in attendance this evening. So Ava, you're the winner. Congratulations. Did you have a lot of fun in the tournament? And did you practice a lot? No? Are you going to try it again? All right, good. Well, congratulations. Next this evening, under Mayor's business, bittersweet moment for us. I know that everyone on the council knows this, that this is Cammie's last meeting with us as our clerk. Cammie is moving on to be the clerk in the City of Appleton. So we've appreciated everything that you have done for the city, being the clerk, taking care of the elections and all the rules and regulations and everything that goes along with that. The fantastic working relationship that you had with all the poll workers and everyone involved in that effort. So for me personally, I'm going to miss you a lot. I want to thank you for all the great work that you have done for the city. Wish you the best in everything with the City of Appleton and anything else that you might do in the future. So I would ask my colleagues on the council and city staff that are here, if you'd please stand with me and thank Cammie for everything that she's done for the City of Verona. Okay.
And I just want to thank all of the council members here, all past and present, for working with me and kind of learning with me along the way in this position, and all of the election workers who have been through a lot in recent years with the changing election laws. They've been wonderful to work with, and they've really helped create a really good system for the City of Verona voters. And I'd like to thank all the city staff that I've worked with. I've really enjoyed my time in Verona and just the community of Verona as a whole. It's been a pleasure serving the City of Verona, and I certainly will miss it, but I'm hoping my next opportunity is the right move, and I'm looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Cammie. And just one quick story I'll tell you. Bill and Cindy had asked me if I would be involved in the second interviews when we interviewed the people that had applied for Cammie's position. We got all done with the interviews. Cammie was the last person that day. So Bill and Cindy asked me, they said, so what did you think? And I said, well, I didn't have the advantage of being involved in the phone interviews, the first interviews. I said, but based on what I saw today, I would not let that young woman leave the parking lot before we offered her a job. And we did. We offered her a job pretty quickly, and she took the job, was promoted to clerk, and never once let us down. So thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments from the council? Jack?
Yeah, I know this is your last official meeting, but you're welcome to come back to our meetings anytime. Thank you.
Mr. Burns?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to the mayor's comments and thank you, Cammie, for your service to the city and the great job that you've done. Cammie was hired, as the mayor said, back in 2010, and it was just over a year after she had been hired by the city when we had a vacancy in the clerk position. And the mayor and I had met with Cammie and said that we really thought she would be an excellent fit for the city clerk position. I think we caught her a little bit by surprise, but she accepted. She was definitely ready for that role and has just done an amazing job over the last 4 years in that position. By my count, she's overseen 13 elections, which is a lot for a 4-year period with the recall and everything in there. I've seen us go through new voting machines, many changes to SVRS. Was trying to talk her into staying for one more presidential election, but I think she's going to have a new challenge in Appleton with that. But just want to say that you stepped in when we had a need in that position. You've done a great job, and thank you for all your service.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. I've always said that Mayor Hanna from Appleton is my friend. I haven't seen him since he hired Cammie away from us, but I will make sure that I have a conversation with him. So, okay, with that, we're going to move along on the agenda. Next, we have the administrator's report. Mr. Burns, please.
Yeah, thank you. I just have a couple updates this evening. First of all, I wanted to let everyone know that the city has officially submitted its urban service area amendment request to the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission with a copy to the Department of Natural Resources. That request, which would allow the city to extend municipal utilities, includes 694 acres in several areas. It includes property owned by Epic Systems. It includes large portions of our North Neighborhood area. It includes property owned by the school district south of the city for a future planned elementary school site, as well as land for an expansion area in Technology Park on the southeast side of the city. That was officially submitted on October 13th. At this point, we have not received a response or comments back on the application, and we have also not received a timeline for the review process. We do have a meeting scheduled with Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources and CARPC staff that will be coming up on November 11th, and we've been told that we may receive comments yet this week. So we will keep everyone informed about the timeline for the process for that review. I think there are some challenges with both CARPC staff and DNR right now of determining how the recent change in state law related to the process for urban service area amendments is going to apply in this situation. Under that state law, it provides for a 90-day timeline for when an urban service area application is submitted to when action is supposed to take place, and there is an opportunity for within a certain number of days to provide a response if the application is not complete. But I think both the DNR and CARPC staff are struggling with how to apply that and how to adjust their process to meet that timeline. So we hope to know more in the next week or two, but I want to keep everyone up to date on that process. Earlier this evening, the Finance Committee met to discuss the 2016 budget. Based on the recommendations that had been presented to the Finance Committee at their previous meeting, we were looking at a projected increase in the projected mill rate of just under 3%. From some of the feedback that was received from the Finance Committee today, members would like to see a scenario that would have no projected increase in the tax mill rate. Staff is going to be working with the mayor to put together some recommendations, which we'll be sending out later this week, and we'll send that to the full council as well. And then the Finance Committee is going to be meeting again next Monday to review and potentially act on those recommendations. And then finally, wanted to remind everyone that trick-or-treating hours are coming up next Saturday, the 31st, which is Halloween Day, and that'll be held from 5 to 8 p.m. in the city. Be available for any questions.
Are there any questions? Mr. McGilvray, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Burns, I received a phone call today from a constituent that lives down in the Pale Street, North 9 Mound Road intersection. There were questions about that development and meetings that may have happened or could be happening in the future. They were under the perception that December 13th we would be taking action on something as it relates to that project, and my recollection is that I haven't seen anything come back before us that would make me think we're going to be taking any kind of action coming up, but if you could enlighten me on that. And I know I did receive a last-minute notification of a neighborhood meeting I think I received it the day of the meeting, so I was unable to attend. But from the point of view of the constituent, they do not feel like the neighborhood is being included in this process. They are not been given enough time to have input. And right now, all I know is rumors, so if you can give me a little bit of insight, that'd be great.
Mr. Burns, please.
Yes, yeah, I can give an update on that. That is the property where the Velocity project that has been talked about several times in the past is being proposed. The owners or the applicant for that project is working on a new revision that they plan to bring forward, which would include an apartment building and then a standalone commercial building. A previous version had planned a mixed-use building that would have a combination of retail commercial space with apartments above. The city staff had received notice that they were having a meeting with the neighborhood, and I think that notice did come in the day of the meeting. So when our planner, Adam Sayer, received that, he had sent that out to the council to let them know about it. But we did receive really late notice on that meeting as well. That was not a city meeting. That was something that the applicant was having with residents in the area. My understanding is that they are working on additional modifications to the revision and plan to submit that for a future Plan Commission meeting. They may be planning to submit that for Plan Commission in December. I have not heard confirmation of that. It's not planned for the November meeting at this point. But certainly we can pass on the comments to the applicant that the residents in the area feel like they would like additional information and additional notice. And if that is something that we do receive a submittal for, that we can let people know when that's going to be scheduled for Plan Commission, and then following action by the Plan Commission, potential action by the council.
Go ahead, Mr. McGilvray.
And the only thing I'd request you add when you send that notification to the applicant, if you could just make sure that he includes the council, specifically
Yes.
the people who represent those constituents. I'd just soon have the whole council have the opportunity to attend that as well. Thank you.
Will do.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Burns? Saying none, thank you, Bill. We will move then to the engineer's report. The soon-to-be-retired Mr. Gunlock.
Thank you. First project this evening, Cathedral Point Phase 5. All construction out there is complete, and building permits can be issued. Moving on to Liberty Park, Fortune Drive extension. Water main, curb and gutter, and sidewalk have all been installed. Contractor is working on placement of the crushed aggregate base course this week, and hopefully it'll be paved next week. Pizza Ranch and County Farms, grading of Keegan Court has been completed, and the contractor is working on a sanitary sewer installation. Portion of the water main has also been installed. This project will continue into late November. And finally, the North Nine Mound Road, Northern Lights construction. Contractor has completed the grading for the North Nine Mound Road, Northern Lights intersection. Crushed aggregate base course has been placed. Sanitary sewer and water main installation should be completed this week and tested. Contractor intends to install a portion of curb and gutter next week on North Nine Mound Road, and to pave it the following week. Portion of the curb and gutter on Northern Lights will also be installed, and the northbound lanes paved so that traffic can be switched to the new northbound lanes and through the new intersection. Work on filling the quarry is continuing. Filling operations will continue until weather conditions no longer permit. Construction of the total project will continue into next year. That ends the report for this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. McGilvray?
As it relates to North Nine Mound Road and the crossing there,
Yeah.
is the cut in the road by design lower than Nine Mound Road? It's pretty significant if you travel on Nine Mound Road. I mean, it's a pretty good swale.
The
that
existing patch?
Yeah, as you drop down through there, it's
Yeah.
a pretty good drop. I can only imagine as they cross there, it's gonna get worse. Are we talking about building that up before winter?
November, the first Saturday in November, they plan on closing the road, milling out portion of that patch and repaving it to bring it to grade.
They can build it up a little bit? Or they-
Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
build it up, so that it is a smooth ride through there and not a speed
It's a
bump.
roller coaster right now. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Gunlock? Not seeing any. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
We will move then to committee reports. We'll begin with the Finance Committee. Mr. McGilvray, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under item 9A1, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the monthly bills in the amount of $314,231.43.
We have a motion by Mr. McGilvray. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Doyle. Mr. McGilvray?
Did I say 14 cents? Or was that 43 cents?
It is 43 cents.
That is correct. $314,231.43. On the way of explanation, three of the larger items from this month's bills, first being to the Metro Transit System for our fourth quarter 2015 partner investment of $82,100. That is a pass-through. Second being to Middleton Ford for vehicle purchases, $58,348. And finally, to the Robinson Brothers Environmental Services for demolition of 108 South Franklin Street. That amount, $26,216.
You've heard the explanation of the major expenditures. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve the bills in amount totaling $314,231.43. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carries and the bills are paid. Anything else from Finance?
That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGilvray. We'll move on then to Public Safety and Welfare Committee. Mr. Yurs, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve an application for a Class B beer and Class C wine license for Jordandale Farmstead Foods located at 600 West Verona Avenue, Suite 6.
We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Reekie. Mr. Yurs, please.
Jordandale Farmstead Foods recently expanded their restaurant into the neighboring suite. The expansion has allowed for a larger indoor dining space, and the business would like to now be able to sell beer and wine for on-premise consumption along with their current food and beverage options. The license would include the entire business, approximately 2,000 square feet, and the alcohol would be stored in a separate area that only employees would have access to. The Public Safety and Welfare Committee met earlier. We voted to unanimously approve it. However, they would also be able to take the beer and wine off the premises if it stayed in its original container unopened.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Yurs or the committee? Mr. Linder?
Thank you. Is there a limit on how many of these licenses we can permit out?
Ms. Schofield, please.
Not for just the Class B beer and Class C wine. There's a limit on the Class B liquor.
That's liquor. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any, the motion before you is to approve the application for a Class B beer and a Class C wine license for Jordandale Farmstead Foods. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Yurs, please.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve Ordinance 15-865, amending Section 13 of Chapter 1 of Title 10, Motor Vehicles and Traffic for the Code of Ordinances of the City of Verona.
We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Reekie. Mr. Yurs, please.
The proposed ordinance would establish several stop signs located in the Cathedral Point development and makes an adjustment for a change in the names of Laser Street to Fortune Drive and the Liberty Business Park. The Public Safety Welfare Committee reviewed the ordinance change and voted unanimously to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Yurs. Any questions or comments for the committee or for the chief? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve ordinance number 15-861, amending section 10-1-3 of the Code of Ordinances, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Mr. Yurs, anything else from Public Safety and Welfare?
Nothing further.
Thank you. We are moving on then to new business. Under new business, we have discussion and possible action regarding lease agreement with Damascus Road Church for the use of the Senior Center facility. Mr. Burns, would you provide the background, please?
Yes, the city has been renting the senior center on Sunday mornings between 8 and noon to the Damascus Road Church. This started as an informal arrangement, and there is not a current lease agreement covering the current term for this. It's something that we feel there should be a formal lease agreement in place, and from discussion that's occurred with the Senior Citizens Committee, my understanding it's their feeling as well that we should formalize this and have a lease agreement that spells out the responsibilities, rights, and requirements for each party. So staff had started working on drafting a lease agreement. As a model, we use the current lease that the city has for the old library facility with a different church group. We've put together that lease agreement, made modifications as applicable since they're only renting the facility for a limited time rather than complete use of the facility. But we've included similar terms such as insurance requirements, indemnification language, language about what areas can and cannot be used. And we've met with representatives of the church. They're agreeable to the terms of the lease agreement. Under the terms of the proposed lease, this lease would commence, if approved, on November 1 of 2015 and run through December 31st of 2016. Rent would continue at the rate of $1,300 per month. The church would be responsible to pay for each month in full in advance and also pay for the full amount of the month, regardless of the number of Sundays that they use the facility. Either party would have the ability to terminate the lease with 90 days notice to the other party. And it would be staff's recommendation to approve. My understanding is there was discussion discussion at the Senior Citizens Committee as well, and while they did not take a formal motion, there was the consensus of the committee that we should move forward with the lease agreement, and certainly if any of the members of the committee that are present would like to comment, they can, but the recommendation would be to bring this forward and to approve the formal lease agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. You've heard the background. Are there any questions, comments, or potential motions? Mr. Steiner?
A question on the church that rents the old library on East Harriet. Does that lease include the rental of the basement of that church, of that old building?
Mr. Burns?
The lease agreement, if you recall, the food pantry, now the Badger Prairie Needs Network, was using an area of the basement until they moved to their current facility. So it was a shared use arrangement for the lower level. They had to accommodate space for the food pantry, but the church did have the ability to use the common larger area down there periodically for events as needed. The prior church to the one that was in there right now, is my understanding they were using it more regularly for Sunday school or for larger events. I don't know how much the current group is using it. It's a smaller church that's in there right now. So I guess to answer your question, they do have, the lease is primarily for the first level, but I believe they do have some abilities to use the lower level if they're not conflicting with, at the time the food pantry, now that they're out, there's some areas there that would not be used.
Go ahead, Mr. Steiner.
If I may follow up. Would I ask the city administrator to check on this, because we would like to maybe potentially move the dance group back to the old library basement like it used to be 5-7 years ago. Presently they are in the senior center, and there is a conflict that's developing there. They're abusive to the wood floor that we spent a lot of money to put in to one of our community rooms there. And I don't know if you've been down there to look at that, but I wish you would, and maybe we can find a solution to this by going back to the old library on East Harriet and using that basement for our dance group, which worked for many years, because my daughter went through the program back then, and plenty of room, and I would like to see something maybe done with this. Thank you.
Mr. Burns, anything to add, please?
I was just going to add that, yes, I will look into that and discuss that with the rec director and the senior center director as well.
And we are also, I've had conversations with Mr. Burns about taking a look at and extending the lease for the church that's in the existing, or the former library. If we're looking at investing some money by repairing that parking lot in 2016, then we ought to take a look at, for the city's benefit and for the benefit of the church, of extending that lease agreement as well. Mr. Yers, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement.
We have a motion by Mr. Yers. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Diaz. Are there questions or comments on the lease agreement with Damascus Road Church for use of the senior center? Mr. Diaz, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a general comment that I think it's a really good idea just to have this kind of thing in writing. You hope it wouldn't come to any kind of dispute, but if it did, I think both the church and the city will be very happy to have have the lease agreement written down. I think it protects both parties, and I think that in the future we should make sure that we always have a written lease for this sort of thing written down.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. We are then on agenda item 10.2, which is discussion and possible action regarding approval of operator licenses. Ms. Schofield, please.
There are 2 operator licenses for approval from Jeremy Ford at Hop House and Dalton Curtis at Monty's.
Mr. Yurs, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Yurs. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Reekie. You have heard the applicants. Are there questions for the clerk or for the chief? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of operator licenses signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. We are on to agenda item 11, which is announcements. Mr. Steiner, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to say too much about this, but I know it's going to happen. Winter parking restrictions will be taking place starting November 20 and running through April 1 of 2016. And this is a common complaint that I receive from many constituents. They don't recall this date. So we're warning you 3 weeks ahead this year, and I hope that you write on your calendar and maybe even start practicing parking and following those procedures, because our police department is very fair about this. They go around and they issue warnings when you first do it, and if you continue to do it, that's when you will start paying a fine. So winter restrictions begin November 20. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steiner. Any additional announcements this evening? Seeing none, no other business, a motion to adjourn would be in order. We have a motion by Ms. Reekie. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Doyle. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.